Good morning, Matt. Austin. How we doing, guys? How's everybody doing? If you're new to the channel or the lives or the whatever, let me know where you're from, what you're up to this morning. Hey, Todd, good morning. Elvis has entered the building. Good morning, Elvis. Dressing the tips on a couple of these in anticipation of the final flaking of that Dalton that we're going to do. I'm going to continue working on that from yesterday. Let me grab another. Yeah, that flicker's pretty good. Sorry guys, I'm just good morning, Jimmy. I just wanting the Daltons are pretty pressure heavy. You put you do a lot of pressure flake series on those. So you end up wearing down your tool tips faster. And for sake of time, most of the time I have several of them dressed up and ready to go, so that as one dulls I can grab another one, just so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me sharpen tools. But like I've said before, now when I'm doing the final dressing on those and stuff, there's something about when you burnish the tool. Let me find one of these that's not quite, I'll just work on a duller one. But when you're working that tool, like you'll see it'll develop. Let's see if I can get this in focus or in frame. This one's not as bad, but you can see those little rough, and what it's similar to is when a billet gets beat up. You know, it's like I've told you guys, when this tool right here is no different as far as the force that you're gonna apply or the way that than this tool. It's essentially the same thing. It's smaller and the force is different. Excuse me. So, when your billet is all pitted up and it's got a bunch of, junk in it, you're not able to nap as well, because when you go to hit that platform, you're hitting with an uneven surface and it's making contact in places it shouldn't and missing where it should, etc. So you have to think about your tool tip, and that's why, I've got a drywall rasp, or they call them a Shinto rasp, but I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can sharpen your tool and do some dressing, and that's usually how I do a lot of my major dressing here at the house. Now, when I'm at the gatherings and stuff, I just dress everything on stone sitting around the fire at night. But I want to show you what I'm talking about on this. You'll see that even on this fine side, and I'm going really light just to turn this, but you'll see all those, well, let me get it to focus. But you can see all the little grooves that were left by the teeth on that. Well, that proportionately is no different than a beat up billet. And if you try to use that as a pressure flaker, it will work as long as you're getting into a spot where you're making good contact. But I like to think of it almost like a tiny little billet tip, so that where I'm making contact is clean on that, on the platform. So I'm getting a cleaner removal. The initiation where that flake starts is sharper, and with that you have a lot more control. So that's why you see me a lot of times using this. I'm not trying to act like I'm, you know, I mean, that's my one modern tool as I use for, you know, and most of these are cut on a saw. But after that, now, would you guys be interested in seeing maybe a video of me breaking down an antler with Stone Age tools, just to see, you know, the process of it? You would, Terry? Right on, man. Well, I tell you what, I've got a couple of candidates over there. Now, it's not something you guys are not going to want to watch me do that live. I'm just telling you. I mean, we can, if enough people want to, we can do that. But in fact, if you guys want to, we can do that for the next Wednesday's Wednesday night live. All right, guys. Well, we're going to continue with this piece of Burlington we were working yesterday. It's really going to shape. I think it's going to shape up nice for a Dalton. We've got, trying to get right back into where I was at. Got a little bit of mass right here. Got some area here with a little dip. So what I'm going to try to do is set up. Got some right here. I'm going to set up some pressure flakes to set this mass up so we can remove that. But yeah, guys, I can show you how I can break stone tools and knives. You know, especially a good stout chert type material. You know, I wouldn't do it with glass or anything like that because it is a little bit more prone to throwing off sharp flakes. But you know, you can cut through antler pretty good with a tough piece of chert. So, Jimmy, I'm using the front camera, and that's the reason why I've told you guys the way it's set up. I've got, you know, like if I'm looking at my screen, you guys are seeing out in front of me, and then I've got it hooked to a monitor that's set over here, kind of to my left. Well, yeah. So that I can read your comments and be able to. It's kind of set up on well, I don't know if Justin's in here. Justin's seen the setup, but it's kind of looks like a redneck caveman, you know, access cable channel basement show. That'll give you the vibe. Oh, Justin is in here. Did you hear that, Justin? Right on. Yeah, I was telling you've been let behind the, you know, Oz's curtain over here. You see the production for what this is. See, on this piece, this is where we've, you know, if we're making a Dalton out of it, we've got room to spare here because of the shape of that. So we're going to use that to come towards this other area of mass and try to set up some better platforms for it. So, let's see. So you're seeing on the same. I'm not sure what you mean, Jimmy. If you're meaning that I can have the camera facing towards me, and oh, thank you for the galaxy, guys. I am so sorry. Who was it sent that? I appreciate it, guys, so much. You know, like I said, I do this because I love it, but it's nice to get the appreciation from you guys. Oh no, it's the same TikTok, Jimmy. It's what it is I've got I don't know what kind of phone you've got, but my iPhone, I've got a cable that I've hooked in. It's kind of like well, you know, coming out of the lightning, whatever it is, C, and it goes to a micro USB into a little plug-in monitor. Like, my monitor is like a 17-inch monitor. You know, it would be one that you would either use to hook, you know, like a phone. Well, that's actually what it's for. It's a spare monitor. I mean, you could hook it up for your computer, a laptop, but it's just the monitor. But it works really well. That way, I mean, I've got it set up. You know, you guys can't see it because it's off camera, but it starts about like right there, just off camera is where my wiring and all that stuff's at. So, and it's that's why I was saying it looks like it was done on a redneck caveman shoestring budget, because it was. I've got my monitor is actually sitting on a mic stand or a mic boom that I used to use when I was playing out live, and this one happens to be my double mic setup, which I have a little machine that harmonizes my voice with me, so I could sing harmonies while I was by myself. So there's two microphones, one set up for harmonies and one set up for main feed, and it makes like a stand, and that's where my monitor's propped up on that, kind of boomed out over the top of my table. It's a mess, but it seems to be holding up. We've been doing this now, let's see, almost 4 months doing the lives. That's crazy. All right, now you can see I did the pressure flake on that. I'm trying to get myself to where I'm doing more pressure flaking instead of relying so much on the punch. And I'm not gonna lie, my hands are feeling it, you know. But if I don't do that, I lose more of it. So. Yep, I'll tell you what, next Wednesday we will, I'll start breaking down a set of, me too. Well, yeah, well, I can go fast with the punch, Jimmy. It's just, it's not a matter of the speed of it, it's a matter that I've gotten really dependent on that tool, and I shouldn't do that, because, you know, I use different tool setups for different stuff, and I had gotten to where just about everything I did, everything I was doing was on that punch. Mine, yes, well, any, depending on, I mean, some of it could be set up and everything. Are you talking about Patrick? Is that Jack Crafty? Is that who you're talking about? Yeah, and it's it's a great technique, and that's the thing, is just like you said. Hey DJ, good morning. That tool allows me to nap more than I would be able to because of my back injury, so I understand completely. Caleb, good morning. Not yet. I still don't have the cable to hook up to my new computer to be able to watch the DVDs to make sure who I have. So thank you for reminding me. that might be a good another weekend project. But I tell you what, I'm going to start doing this, guys, because I'm getting old. I say old, I'm not really old, but I'm getting to where I got that CRS, you know, can't remember stuff. So, oh, no. I appreciate it. Caleb, I need to get on that stuff. Because I just got to where, guys, I just can't. The ADHD is part of it, and I know that, you know, so I deal with some of that, but I will get wound up on something and just, you know, it's gone. So I'm going to start doing that, and when you say something about stuff, tell me, write it down. Because I say, yeah, I'll do that, and then, you know, I've got 2 more hours of live to do, and then I get, you know, wound up on what I'm doing, and all of a sudden I've forgotten completely about it because it didn't go into long-term memory. All right. Get reset back to where it was at. But yeah, that's who was it we were talking? The punch has allowed me to do a lot of stuff that physically I could not do if, you know, all the time like that. So, but at the same time, I don't want to become so dependent on one tool to be able to nap. You know, was it Tuesday? I was upset with myself because I mean I was napping, you know, it was a rough piece of rock, but I was napping sloppy because I could get away with it a little bit more with the punch. But with the Hammerstone and Direct like that, I have to set up platforms better, and that's what resulted in that Folsom video. Aaron, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. That's the you know, I just decided, okay, sit down with just a few tools and then quit depending so much on the punch. So those of you that got to see that was kind of fun. All right. Now, you can see how I used that edge. You see how beveled and turned towards this face, right through this area of mass here and up here. I've got a little bit of a thinner spot in the middle, not much, but I want to work the ends down before I attack anything from the center. Right on, Jimmy. Yeah, this, and you've checked it out, haven't you, on the whole setup, or have I explained it to you? Because if you'll check out the little video that I got posted on it, it explains it really well. And you know, it's just a modified version of the other stuff that I've seen, and you know, I'm anxious to see somebody's gonna take my modification and they're gonna modify that, and then there's gonna be a morph of that one, and I think it's awesome. I love sharing information and seeing what people do with it. You know, the idea for that. Some of the old timers remember a guy. His name was Jim Spears, and so I just found out recently that he actually was doing some stuff. I had no idea, you know, but that he was doing a similar technique even back in the 80s. And Marty Reuter, who was a fan of Jim Spears' work, and Marty is all stone and bone napper also. Well, he's the place where I saw the shaft punch first, and then a friend of mine had tried one because he saw. Never thought of that wide tip. Oh yeah, well, you mean as far as instead of it being like a copper, that's the punch that I was using earlier is my small one. I'll use. I mean, it's essentially a billet, but instead of swinging it this way and having to put the force and the follow through, all I have to do is just drop another piece of mass on there. Yeah, Caleb, I agree. I started with these tools and got into them like a year before he moved to. I think he moved to Colorado. He's on TikTok though. But anyway, Jimmy, you mean on the point. I'm not sure now of what to see. I never thought. I guess I'm not following Jimmy. I'm sorry. I may be a little bit slow on the uptake. Yeah, he naps every once in a while at his house, Caleb. I've seen some of his videos, but I haven't heard. Now, there's another guy that his name is Oscar Meisel or Maisel, and he's got a channel called Nappin' Stuff. And Oscar got into it, and he lives in like Washington or Oregon, and he actually contacted Marty and went to visit him to learn from him personally because he had watched so many of his videos. Oscar does some really cool work. If you haven't checked him out, check him out and tell him that the Caveman sent you. He's been doing some pottery lately that is, well, he was working with Tony Suarez on some pottery, I believe. And so go give him check him out because he does really nice work too. If you like these tools and the type of techniques, Oscar does some similar stuff. So all right, right there, I'm just trying to isolate this spot so that I can put this. Hold on a second, let me get this just a little bit. All right, so that I can kind of throw it back into this. It doesn't have to be a deep or a long flake, but it's a flake that is important because I'm going to try to feather it into this area on the other side. You can see that lump, well, that lump right there. All right. Make sure that's where I want to start. Let's see how each of those kind of feathered into that. So now we've got, convexity. If I tried to really drive a flake into that, it's going to get out into that flat spot and it'll make a step or a bad termination that's getting to this stage in the piece. You're going to be hard pressed to get that out. So it's just easier to not make the problem to begin with than it is to try to fix it later. So edge is just a little sharp. Where I put the tool, I don't want it to sound like crispy. I don't want to hear the edge crumbling at all. See, that's not, it's just making contact. And you'll get much better flakes that way. If it's crispy sounding, it's almost like when you put a pressure flaker on an edge. See how that one just took that area of mass and just blended right into that. But if it's got like that kind of a crispy sound to it, that means the edge is too sharp, and it's going to crumble away as you push or as you strike it, and you're going to lose a lot of energy. So that's nice removal there to the other side. That Hug G or I don't. I've got a video on it pinned on the top of my profile, and it's on a shaft. This is a horizontal shaft punch, and it's just a modified version of some guys that I've seen some stuff. I've never seen anybody use the holding or the way I've got it set up this way. Most everybody puts it under this leg and on top of this one. But I can't set like that, man. My sciatic nerve and my lower back would just be screaming. So I tried that to begin with when I first discovered this, first saw somebody using one. But I've got a video that shows the whole setup of it. That way I don't have to take it down while I'm trying to use it. So if you don't mind, if you'll check that out, and then if you want, go check it out and then come back in and I'll answer any questions you might have. Oh, right on. Yeah. Well, and this was just a modified version. So like I said, if you check that out, you'll see that for me, I mean, I'm a big dude. So the way I sit anyway, but with I've got L3, L4, L5 issues and sciatic nerve issues. So trying to set with, holding my legs together and then putting pressure on it was just killing my lower back. So I tried a few different, ideas to get to this point, but this will work. I guarantee you, everybody that's made one of these after doing it has had good results with it. It enables, excuse me, it enables me to nap more often because of my injuries than I would be able to without it. I will tell you that for sure. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just isolating this little spot that I got. This is kind of a flat area that I don't want to drive flakes into. I'm just trying to continue having that convexity. That's the name of the game, especially at this stage in the point. If you get too flat right here, then you're going to lose material trying to get convexity back if you don't get to your final thickness. So, like I said, at this stage, we're taking nice flakes and removals, but it's more about tapering everything in to get that lenticular cross section, and then we shape it, and that's when you get your big pattern flakes. All right, we're gonna. Brizzo, good morning. I think the weight does make a difference. If I don't know if I missed a comment, I just saw somebody say Oh, Marty doesn't use a weight on his. The weight that Marty's using, the downward force, is this leg that he puts it under. And then he's using that downward force of this leg. It goes underneath this leg, comes out here and sets on his opposite leg. And then he has to put like this and then strike here. Well, striking across my body turned like that is what makes my back hurt. Woodchuck, what's up? Yes, I do. I've got an Etsy shop, and there's a link right underneath if you go to my profile, which is right up here, and click on that, and then go click on me again. It'll take you to my page, and there's a link there underneath my picture. So. But so that's the thing, is that weight on there, the reason you have to have that, you need back pressure. You need it to be resisting going up. Because if you hit it and it hits and bounces or rebounds, well, you don't get near the transfer of energy. What you're wanting, and Justin, remember when you're over and I was showing you when you were sitting there, I said, when I set this tool up, I'm not trying to rip a flake off there and not hit it so hard. All I want to do is make the tip of this replace the space that where this was setting. It's not a violent, swing. It's just a nice pop. And all you're trying to do is just initiate a fracture. Still got is just initiate the fracture with just a clean, crisp spot, just pow. So I've seen a few people using the indirect and they just hit it way too hard. And the reason that it's not working for them is because when you increase the speed and how hard you're hitting, when you increase the force, depending on the size of the, hey Zach, good morning. Depending on the size of the tool tip or how big of an area it's making contact with, if it's a smaller tip, then you're putting a tremendous amount of force in a tiny little area, and you're just blowing your platform apart, and you're actually busting through the where it wants to break. You're forcing it to break through to place, and when you do that, you're getting real steep edges, or your lot of just real short step fractures just off the edge that are really hard to get. It's almost like, it's like what you guys have told you when I'm pressure flaking. I just apply that. I get my inward force, and then I start pulling down to pull that flake off. But it's not like one quick, it may look that way sometimes, but what I'm doing is I'm allowing that force to build up in there. Probably not. The thug or that hug, I don't know, I don't know, Zach. I can't imagine who got restricted. They may have said something that wasn't, I don't know who that was. I didn't restrict anybody. Do I have a mod in here who's policing? I'm thinking this one. It would work as a Clovis, but I'm going to bring it in and make a Dalton out of it. Pure poison. I've got really nice lines, and I think I can set up a really smooth platform out of it. It would work as a Clovis. I got a little bit, it's a little narrow right through here for a Clovis now because of this big removal. I'd like a little bit more beef in the tail end of it if I was going to be trying to flute it, but oh, thank you, Brizzo. Well, I appreciate it. Well, like I said, guys, if you do want to check that out, it is in my profile. So if you go check, there's a link that'll take you directly to the shop. And I've got some more stuff I'm getting ready to put in. That helps me. She basically runs that. So I'm the picture taker and the whatever. That's the part of it I like the least, is trying to take nice pictures and get postings and monitoring that kind of stuff. It's no fun. And then, guys, anybody that's interested, we're going to do, let's see, what is today? I'm going to do a subscriber giveaway. We'll do that here. Let's see, what have we got? Another week and a half. I did, Todd, but I don't have it out here. And it turned out it's a little, it's small. When I brought those edges in Friday the 21st, I tell you what, this weekend I'll come up with just a killer point to give away, and we'll do that for the subscriber point for this month. Because I wasn't sure we were going to be able to do that with all the stuff and the restrictions and everything, and it looks like they're allowing me to have subscribers and all that stuff again. So if you want to be eligible for that, what could we give away? Trying to think of if I've got, I don't know if I've got any finished stuff out here that for a giveaway. I can make another one. We're about 100 people. Chuck, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, I've been saying this was going to be the 5,000 follower giveaway. I've got that one already kind of slated for that. What about, guys, those of you that are in here this morning, would somebody be interested in the results of the trash napping series? Do you think that would make a decent subscriber giveaway? That was all the points that we made live with the trash. This is 40-ounce beer bottle Dalton, toilet tank Dalton drill, and TV glass double fluted clove. That's what we did all on live. What do you think about that since we had kind of a shortened month because of whatever the stuff that was going on? How does that sound? You'd be interested in anything I made? Well, thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. I'll think on it, and Monday on the live, because I don't know, I don't want to give away what my trash, I don't want to say they're trash because they're nice points, but well, right on, Dennis. I appreciate it. So I'll do that, or I'll make another nice point, and if you guys would prefer, I'll give you the choice on Monday. But that's, like for my subscriber points, because that was the other thing. Hey, Kenny, what's going on? I was trying to think of, I don't want to know I don't want to sound jerkish to say it, but I was thinking that, like for any of my subscribers, that one of the things that I guess is one of the perks that other people are offering is our lives that are only accessible by another day, another penny. I hear you. I got to work 2 days for those, Kenny. But I was thinking about doing like subscriber only lives. Hey, Dennis, tell her I said hello. But I wasn't sure what the interest in that would be. I don't know if you guys get to sit here and watch me do this, but I was thinking that on a subscriber only live, that I might be able to have somebody come in, show me problems that they might be having, and then we could work through them for a couple of hours once a month. To where anybody that wants to come in, get on there, show me what their problem is, and then I can maybe help give them some. I know that I do that some. Somebody asks on the lives, but I was just thinking it might be a way for people to see it like in a. You like the idea of it? Right on, Justin. Oh, I thought it might be like a. Like a real time. It's question and answer. Right on. Thank you, Dennis. Well, I was just. I try to do that on the lives, but the thing about it is, if I'm trying to, I try to be nice. People come in the comments and the. You're gonna have to rent a trailer to bring it up here, Justin. Well, I'm looking forward to it. We'll have to do that again. That's the thing, my wife, she works for the municipality in the county here, and so you guys have the same days off. Most of those government days. All right. Now, this is where we've got just a little bit of mass right here you can see, and then there's kind of a dip there. So, yeah, they actually gave up one of their whatever day it was so that they could have the day after Thanksgiving to get a 4-day, I worked for the post office for a number of years. So, yeah, I know about government days, and I worked for the county also, so. I'm rocking some, I think this is black cherry herbal tea this morning. Doing pretty good for the, yesterday I had a little coffee, had not slept, been nervous about this weather that we're having. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Justin, there'd be like, they're like, hey, it's national, take the day off day. Hope you make it through the live. Been hooked on mint tea lately. Right on, DJ. But yeah, the days off for government work is, they a lot of nice days there. The cold makes one want to nap. I tell you what, breathing makes me want to nap, Kenosha. No, Don, I don't think. Oh, no. No, I'll be okay. You won't have to worry about me not making it through the live. I'm not that full of crap, You got to get that daily pun in there. That's right, Kenosha. That was a cool little, just a tiny little platform I set that on. It's another thing that I really like about this being able to put that kind of force on just a little stout platform, you know, and drive a flake like that is a really cool. See, like that. You guys can't hardly see that. I mean, that is the tiniest little hook out on that thing. But look at how beautiful of a nice blending flake. Comment, like, and share. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it, man. That's just, see, that's like I said, I love this community. Thank you for that. All right, we've got this little spot right here, and you can see there's a little bit of a step. Where's that? Right there. You can see that right there. And I'm going to take this flake here first, and hopefully it'll spread into that. But then I've got another one that's kind of in line with it. Excuse me. A little stuffy out here this morning. I'm about done with all this cold weather. Had enough. How did I get started napping? Well, I mean, the fascination for the tools started when I was a kid. My grandpa, following him around, picking up arrowheads and just seeing how excited he'd get when he would find one. And I was too young to really, I just knew it was an arrowhead. I didn't know anything else about, points and styles and all this stuff. And I had found, a few broken pieces and some stuff like that. And by sharing, oh, okay, Dennis, thank you. But I'd never found a full point. And I saw a tip sticking out of the dirt that, that patina is just, and it's unmistakable now. But even as a kid, you could just be like, yep, that's. And I reach over and there's about an inch of this piece sticking out, and it was just shy of 4 inches, a Dalton, fairly early stage. And my grandpa he thought that was so cool. And I've, ever since, that point, I was like, because I basically worship the man, so, well, I mean, I wouldn't say basically even. So anything that he got that excited about, there had to be something to that. And that was when I was 9, 10 years old. I played around trying to figure out how they did that. Well, when I turned 25 is when I bought tools and really tried to learn. Well, I only say bought tools. I was 27 before I bought tools. For the first 2 years, I napped with a piece of antler and a rock because I had read some obscure passage that's what they used. And so I was just, self-taught at that point. But then met a guy at work one night when I was sitting out at our smoking area when I was a smoker, and there was some creek gravel out there that came from a local area here, and there was a piece of Reed Springs in it. And I picked it up and I was tapping on it, and some guy came out there and he said, oh, you're a flint napper. And I said, yeah, I don't know what that is. I said, but I make arrowheads. And he said, no, that's what, that's the term for what you're doing. And he happened to be a flint napper also, and lived down in an area here just north of me. Hey, Mad Dog, good morning. The area called Greasy Creek. And it was an area where several of the big names in napping, that was their hangout. That was where the guys that were the guys were hanging out. And I got the opportunity to meet, several just of legends. I mean, oh gosh, well, I was trying to think. One of them is no longer with us. His name was Ralph Conrad, but Jim Spears is a legend in the field. DC Waldorf, his partner Dane Martin. I mean, I met some of and then DC's book and accompanying VHS video was my first formal instruction in flint knapping. Up until that point, I just had taught myself for almost a couple of years. This is one of the original moose antlers that I bought when I went down there. This thing I've had for, well, now going on 30 years. I quit using it to hit with, and as a baton or a billet, but I strike with it now. But I got into it because, I could see how cool my grandpa thought it was, and I just had to know how to make them. And I napped for about on and off for almost 20 years. Went through a really bad spot, horrendous marriage to a person who didn't understand my passion with these. And so I kind of took a few years where I didn't nap hardly at all because it was, in her words, quote unquote, stupid. And about 10 years ago was injured on the job, unable to return, and was losing my mind. And that's really when I really got back into napping. I did way more than what I did before. I research the cultures that these, the points that I'm making, the materials that they use, potential tools, their lifestyle, because that affects the tools and the things, and just went over the edge with it. But have just ever since I've followed my grandpa. That was when I wanted to do this or figure this out. So it's kind of been a lifelong obsession, but never really pursued it until that's all I could do for the time being. So sorry about the wordy answer to all that, but it's just been a journey, It's really cool. It's like, the Chinese proverbs, one of them that is when the student is ready, the master will appear. And I love that because it kind of goes along with just a lot of stuff. When you're ready to receive what it is that you're experiencing. Headley, thank you. I appreciate it. But when you're prepared to hear whatever the next step is, that's when you hear it, Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Lost Girl. It's kind of like what I tell people as far as, I have people ask me all the time, well, why are you showing people how to do what you do? And I said, well, why wouldn't I show them how to do what I do? And there's somebody out there that wants to do this, that wants to learn this, or is learning it, that I can help them, And there's selfish people, and they're like, well, because then they can do what you do. That's right, Zach. But yeah, it's like I tell people, that's awesome. Is it WL or Wall? I 8 pond, but thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Headley. And to me, like I said to you guys, this is not my knowledge. This was done way before I was even any kind of, my peoples was still over in Germany, being cave peoples when this stuff was, it's not my knowledge. So why should I hoard it? But it's like I tell people, and guys, I don't ever want to. Right on, Bill. Thank you. Then I will, if it's okay with you, I'll address you as that. if I remember. Otherwise, I may butcher whatever that name is again that you had up there. But no, it's like I tell people, and again, guys, I don't want you. I'm not trying to be like a condescending, but whenever I'm going to say something that's going to mean something to somebody that's watching, that means they're prepared to hear it. And the way I liken it is, I play guitar. I've played for a long time and I'm okay at it. But if you had Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan sit down in front of me and show me lick for lick, and play that lick for me, and then say, okay, now do it. If I'm not prepared to hear that at that point, it doesn't make any sense to me, But if I'm at a level where what they said, I can glean some knowledge from that. So it's just a matter of being prepared when that knowledge comes along, and understanding that I've learned from just about everybody that I've ever napped with. I've probably picked up and don't I've either learned what to do or what not to do, but you're still learning. And if I can watch somebody screw something up and I don't have to screw it up, then hey, that's a win for me, right? But my only deal is I try to be in competition with myself. I try to be better than I was the day before. And I don't care about, oh, now Dennis, I've watched you nap. I'm telling you, you sit down and you watch somebody's techniques, and you'll see somebody doing stuff that they do better than you, or that they've got a take on it that you hadn't thought about. It's like I tell the story a lot. I'm going to see if I can find my... I'm almost never without this. You see that white chalk that came off of that? This is a piece of shell that's laid out in the sun and got oxidized. And I was at a nap-in, the first nap-in I ever went to, actually, almost 10 years ago. And there was a guy he was just beating up these big old boulders of rock with a hammerstone, and it was ugly. I mean, he was throwing off he was still really new. And I was still using copper tools at the time. That was right before, well, it was 10 years ago, because it was right before I switched over completely. But he would use this when he was pressure flaking, and I had experienced, even with the copper tools, sometimes when you put the tip of it up against a slick platform, how it'll slide off. Well, what this guy was, he said, you ever play pool? And I said, yeah. He said, what happens if you forget to chalk your stick? And I said, you miscue. He said, right. He said, when you put that smooth, slick tip up against the edge of that rock, it's like a pool ball, and it slides off. But if you chalk this and you put some of that on there, it gives it a little bit of places to grab and make purchase on that and grip it. And I'll be darned if it doesn't work. I am never without this if I'm pressure flaking. I don't always use it, but there's times when I can get a grip on there with that I couldn't get without it. So, and that was a brand new, that guy was, green. He was a couple of weeks into smashing rocks, or a month or two maybe, but he recognized that when that tool would slide off there, and he was hardcore, wanted to use rocks and antler and all of that. So, and like that was right before I started using these tools. But I've ever since then have carried one with me. Jacoby, thank you for the follow. Bill, I tell you what, we just did a video the last couple of days just as a basic toolkit. That right there. And a leather pad for your hand to put the stuff in. That is literally all you need right there to flint nap with. This is a base, of an antler. I've got several others that are in process and stuff, but kind of a gritty hammerstone, a little bit harder hammerstone. and some type of a tool to do like a pressure flaking with. And that's just a deer antler tine. This one was a shed. You can still see the rodent teeth marks in it. The way it's kind of beveled, but the texture of it is really good. It's very ivory, bone-like. It's very hard. But anyway, that's to get started. That's really all you need. Now you can add other tools, and I've obviously got, you know, bunches because I like all the stuff, you know. But I also try to, like I've done some pieces with, this is a buffalo, the tip of a buffalo horn that I've used as an edge dresser and a pressure flaker. I've got several different pieces of, I mean, it's almost endless, but they're very simple to come up with. And if you're wanting to do with these tools now, if you're wanting to start like with copper tools, I would say like a 3/4 inch bopper, which is a copper cap filled with just a little bit of lead on a handle, a copper pressure flaker, a hand pad, and some type of a grinding stone. Jacoby, the closest thing that I have to an ishi stick, and because I don't use the ishi stick or the way that they, you know, where they put it down here and they squeeze with their legs. I can't do that because with my lower back, my sciatic nerve, 2 or 3 times doing that and putting pressure on it, and my back is junk. But what I do have that I use if I'm needing a little bit more push, or, you know, is an exceptionally long whitetail. You can't see how, I mean, for a just a single tine, that's one of the, like the G1 or whatever. And I put it up against my chest like this, my hand up here tight, and I'll lean in and then try to use that force. That's how I build up that force instead of using my legs. Bro, my back has jumped right now. Yeah, it does hurt, man. I mean, you know, so I have to have, you know, I've modified what I do, but I've always been, my upper body is, you know, I've got a lot of strength in my hand, in my shoulders, my arms, and then, you know, I use my upper body, my mass, to lean into that and to compress with that, and then that's when I'm out of frame, but then, and then you get that downward force that rips those flakes, and that's why if you were in here, well, you're going to see it if I'll shut up and get back to napping, because these Daltons are very pressure heavy. I'm going to have to do a lot of pressure flaking on it. Yeah, hang 'em high. I worked in a manufacturing plant for 17 years, and then did postal service for a number of years, and then ended up working for a county municipality where I worked my way up to second in command, made my boss mad, and he demoted me to the tire shop at the road department and had me changing dump truck tires. And how do you know when an edge is pressure heavy? Well, I'm not sure what you mean as far as when do you know if it's too heavy if you set it up too strong? Is that what you're... Yeah, heavy equipment bouncing around in backhoes and that stuff will tear you up too, man. But if you're asking as far as it's a feel thing, and I don't know what kind of, if you're using, yeah, if Bill, well, first of all, be careful, because they're really, unless you've got private property that you have permission on. Texas, from what I understand, is a little bit twitchy about just going to the creek and picking up rock. But there's Texas, depending on where you live, can have all kinds of stuff. Oh, right on, hang 'em high. Well, yeah, you guys know where I'm coming from, so you know that's why you'll see a lot of my stuff is, you know, modified to help my, you know, give me the ability to do a little bit more of this or to do it better. But still try to, be within the realm of possibilities. Do I think that there was a shaft punch set up just like this? No. Well, maybe. Could have been, Oh, right on, hang 'em high. That's cool. But as humans, it's what we do. We look at stuff. We try it. It works for us, great. It doesn't work for us, but we see the value of it. Then we modify it to where it works for us. So, that's why I encourage people. Hey, if you see this and it looks cool to you, make one. And if it doesn't, yep, that's right, Dennis. Adapt and overcome. If it doesn't work for you, but you guys have watched enough of this. You can see that this tool is a, it's a beast. Jacoby, I'm not trying to be rude. It's just when I've got it, I'm set up and napping. I've got a video posted. Yeah, and it really is, hang 'em high. But Jacoby, I've got a video. It's pinned. It's like the first video on my profile. If you go and check that out, it's about 4 minutes, and it explains all the stuff that I do on this. And then if you've got any more questions, come back in, and I'll try to answer them. If that's okay. See, that was an important flake. You can see how much of that I kind of cut across a ridge to take that out. Because what I'm doing is I'm trying to isolate this little weird spot right there. It's kind of an undercut scoop with two small ridges leading to it, but anyway, the contours are not cool. So I'm just trying to get that worked in, but you can see we're starting to get. The only other spot I've got any kind of trouble, and shouldn't be too bad, is you can see this dip right here where looks like one of my early flakes went in and kind of scooped out. But that's going to be in an area where we're going to move the edges. Don, thank you for sharing. Oh, right on. Yeah, I knew it was pinned up there towards the top. Thank you, Dennis. And, I'm not trying to not tell anybody about it. So it's there. Then come back in and ask me some questions. And if I've got a short video, well, the same video on my YouTube channel too, if you want to go check that out there, and I've got a few other videos of some of my work there. So and some of it with the punch being used. A couple of Clovis videos and a Dalton video on there also. Trying to work on getting a little bit more content for that platform too. So all right. To move the camera over here a little bit. I adjusted everything when Justin came over so that we could kind of sit face to face and he could see what I was doing, and I still haven't tried to figure out my camera is a little bit off from where it was because the way I've got this thing set up, it's like a measuring stick, and I can tell that my camera was, I think, a little bit more that way. We'll work on it and get it back to where it was. I just don't like looking up and showing you guys something and realizing I was off. I was out of frame. So, and I know I do that sometimes. I kind of get wrapped up in what I'm doing and don't pay attention. But Bill, I have got one of the prettiest rock gardens, or the side of the hill. That's what wife and I joked about, you definitely wouldn't want to fall down the hill off the side of the house here. It would be a pretty rough experience. I mean, I'm a prolific napper. I've got a lot of debitage. Now, some of the bigger pieces, you know, if they're usable, I'll pick back through this at the end of the week when I clean it up. I'm going to go through and make sure there's not any pieces that I can make some, you know, like a Cahokia style smaller arrow points out of. And if there's not, then it goes to the pretty rock garden. All right, and just like we always do on every pass through this, I'm gonna start up here at either the tip or the base and work towards the issue that we've got. And in this case, the issue is this, trying to show it, you can see it's a pretty deep little dip where that flake kind of came in and then rippled right there at the edge. So what I'm gonna do is just work a series of flakes right back to it. Yeah, that's true, Justin. Yeah, where I'm at, it's right off the side of the dirt road out here in the front, and it is a big, well, it's right under the power lines on the side of the hill. You know, it's not going to be an archaeological dig site at any time. So, but I made a mistake, I will tell you. I put some in my little drainage ditch down here one time, and this has been a few years ago, but I was mushroom hunting down here in the bottom behind where our house is. I've got some places that, you know, in the spring I find bunch of morels in. And I was walking the spring down there, and I see this piece of pink material. Well, anytime you see pink in this area, it's heat treated, and that means it's probably an artifact. And I get to looking, and there's another one. I thought, what in the world? And then all of a sudden I looked more, and there's a piece of what was obviously Georgetown. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is where my tailings have washed to. This is where my debitage has come down the creek. Hold on a second there. And that was the last of me dumping any material anywhere that it could get washed to anything. So it went about a quarter of a mile from where I dumped it to where it ended up in the wash in our field. Give me just a second here. Felt like I had something hit my eye, but I think it was my eyelash that. Tell you what, guys, give me just about 30 seconds. Well, a little bit longer than that. I'm gonna go get an eye drop or two just to make sure I don't have something in there. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, I'm coming back. Sorry, guys. Ugh. Sorry about that. Ugh. I don't play around when it comes to, if I think I've got something in my eye, I want to try to rinse it. Get my glasses back on here. All right, doesn't look like Bill, usually you can strike it with a percussor, whether you're using a copper billet or a hammerstone, and you hit it, and if it breaks with a cone or like a fractured off piece, then the likelihood of it being able to be napped is higher. Other than that, that's hard to. It's going to sound glass-like because of the silica content. You can hear. Let me see if I can. You hear that ring in that? But if I hit sandstone, which is not, there's no ring. It's just a tap. But when you pick up a piece of silica material, well, that one's not going to ring. It's not big enough. But bigger pieces will sound like chunks of glass. But that's how I mean, that's how you can tell. All right. Oops, sorry. Got my. Good night. I'm just having all kinds of fun today. All right. Let's get back into this here. I know about the time I get set up with this, it's going to send me that puzzle piece, whatever, where I'm going to have to get back up and. All right. Try to get resituated here, comfortable. All right. No, Bill. No stupid questions at all. I encourage the questions, and that's why I was saying earlier to some of my subscribers that were in here. You know, if there would be interest, I would do a private. Not one-on-one, because it'd be open to everybody that subscribes, but just that way I don't have a lot of the. Oh, right on, Justin. Now that elk antler it'll work for your for a striker. It'll make a great striker because it'll be weight forward. Let's see, do I have one there or? I have one somewhere in here. I don't know what I've done with it, but elk will work, but if you use it as a billet, it's going to wear out quick. The end of it will, there's not a lot of bone to it, you know what I mean? But it's got a great, hey, Small Block, thank you for the follow. But it's got a great weight forward, and it'd make a great striker for this if it's big enough and got enough mass for it. But you know, those all along the edges of that, you know, if you cut that thing into 6 or 8 inch sections, these are just slivers out of the outside of the marrow of the bone. You know, these were sitting in there like this, you know, it's just the outside of and then it's just been cut in strips, but those make fantastic flakers. Right there where I put it, always is, Dennis. Gets bad is when you start looking for your glasses and either realize they're on your head or on your face, you know. All right, I'm gonna kind of leading up to that little divot spot. You can see how I got just a little bit of it over here. And I'm just gonna take these short flakes, just taper them into that low spot. You're not gonna make a flake go through that low spot. It'll come out one side of the height of it, and then it'll just stall right there in the valley. So what we're trying to do here is to taper this edge into that and build some convexity. Because like I said, I know that where this is at, we're going to use a lot of this material for the point style that I'm making. So it's not a big deal that I'm gonna lose some, width there. But you can see how that first pass, it just started kind of peeking into that little divot right there behind the flakes. I'm going to come in from the other direction. Now, I'm not trying to drive these flakes. These are just contouring. I'm trying to build convexity, and I'm also trying to lead up to the broken record. Work along here, isolate that mass with a platform, and work towards this area of mass in the middle. I'm telling you, if you just, it's a system. If you follow the steps of it, you'll get more consistent results. See, that flake went out here. Whoop. Don't think they're sharp. But that flake tapered over and went out past halfway. And then what it did was, now you can see how much that isolated the area right next to it. So I'm going to try to line that ridge up. Napping juice. Okay, now what I did right there, you see how that's now more in line with that ridge instead of having that spot sticking way out there. So I'm basically directing the force. It can't go where there's no mass for it to go through. So if you take away the mass or the opportunity for it to go that way, its only option is to go the direction that you want it to. So seeing that piece. Now you see why every time, guys, how often that platform breaks just about right there where I'm touching it. And then the rest of the flake stays intact. The reason that I support that is because if I'm not holding my finger on this break right here, that's all that energy just blows out. But holding it together like that allows it to drive that flake, and that flake went from this edge to right here. And you can see what it did to our profile. I mean, this thing is getting nice. The contours are nice on it, so we're just gonna do our best not to screw it up. I might be able to undercut some of that little divot right here on this next flake because there's a ridge right next to it. I'm going to turn this back just a little, and then get this clean. I don't like little sharp, thin edges. I want everything uniform because it gives it vibration or any kind of thing like that less places to get out. All right, you can see we've got this little ridge right here, and it runs right next to this little divot that we're trying to get out. So I'm going to try to take this flake here and skirt along this edge. Hope it kind of wraps around, and then I'll have less to take off from this direction. And if you look, it did skirt around it. Took almost half of it. Just a little bit of a nub there behind it that doesn't look like it's going to be too big a deal. But I'm going to work these kind of into that spot. Now this series right here is just about completely taking that out of there. And we're still plenty wide right there for a Dalton. So I got a little tempting little shot right here. I'm gonna just see what I can do. There's just the tiniest ridge that goes right up and just almost into that. And I'm thinking that if I can kind of slide that, just throw a little bit of an angle in that, I might be able to get the rest of that out. If I don't, it's not going to make any more of anything to fix than what I had to begin with. So just like that. Now there's just the tiniest bit of it right here, but that'll come out in the next series. So that one's cleaned up on that side. Not a doubt. Well, like I said, Dennis, that makes one of us. All right, I got a couple more little thinning flakes here, and then we're dealing with contours and bringing the edges in for this Dalton. This is a similar flake to what I just took, where I'm angling it back. You can see there's like a little two-pronged weird spot right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up on this first one that it's got the best convexity. I'm going to try to run up the back side of this one and then leave this one that's got a little bit of a valley in it. I'm trying to get to where I can show you the valley of it. You can see how that kind of swoops down. It's pretty flat, but there's a little bit of a valley. This other platform I'm setting up, you can see that it actually it's convex. It's got some curve to it. I see 18.9. Dang, guys. I'm going to town on it today. All right, let's see if we can get this. That's all I wanted to do. Just take that corner of it and smooth that in where it's a nice, even taper. We're going to set this one up. I'm taking these little flakes like this. I'm building convexity for that spot by hey, Duck River, what's going on? I'm trying to take as little of flakes as I can to turn that edge so that I'm not losing a bunch of my width for my piece. They just need to be these little edge turners. They don't have to be, halfway across the piece. Being lazy today. Well, I'm hoping that the weather today is, I'm going to get out and do some filming. I've got a couple of projects that I'm wanting to do, and I think I'm going to go do some filming down by the spring here on our place, do some tramping around. It hasn't gotten warm enough to melt any of the snow, but it's supposed to get close to freezing today. So, all right, now you can see that little spot right there, and there's our platform set up. And I'm just going to take a nice little, I'm not trying to drive a flake. This is just a little pop with pressure on that. And you see how that just popped right over the top of that. And now I've got it's a little bit of a bump right there, but I can get that with pressure. So now we've got a fairly clean all the way around biface. Now we start bringing in the edges and building that convexity for the final pass on it. This is where I will use the punch sparingly, because once you get close to what you're wanting your final thickness to be before your last pass, if you get too thin from there, it just doesn't look right. Lava Blades, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I've watched a lot of your work. I'm a fan. Good to see you in here. Guys, if you hadn't checked out Lava Blades, obviously lava, a lot of obsidian work and stuff, but really cool. Hey, Roland, good morning. All right. Like I said, now the fun begins as far as, for me, for pressure flaking, because this is going to be, they're pretty pressure heavy in the setup to get the right contours, so that your final pass has got the right flake pattern look. So we're not concerned about driving flakes in at this point. What we're doing is building convexity from edge to edge. Gimsbot, good morning. Because since we're making, this thing is going to be, I've got a lot of room for a Dalton. It thinned out quick, so boy, this end down here where that crusty stuff, you can see that line. That is this material down here on the other side of that is horrendous. It's chalky and crusty, There we go. I gotta, all right. On the table, this is an ulna bone, Don. They look like, this is one I picked up last year mushroom hunting. I haven't worked on it yet, but you'll see them a lot in archaeological records. They'll call them trigger awls a lot, but they use that term a little bit too much for me. Here's another one I've used it for some really fine flaking, but they will break, and then once they break, you just start wearing them back. This one I've ground on it a little bit, but the way they fit your hand, that's why they call them a trigger awl. But I've seen pieces that they call it a trigger awl, and I know that it was a flaking tool. An awl has not got a busted down tip like that. An awl is going to be sharper. It's going to have a different wear pattern. It's going to be polished. That's a trigger awl. from my sewing kit. No, Don, it's the like the leg bone, the front where it attaches in. It's called the ulna. If you Google ulna, deer ulna bone, it'll show you right where it's located. Yeah, this is my sewing kit here. This is my needle, and this used to be one of my flint knapping tools, but I like the texture for it. But this is my bone needle. This is buffalo bone needle that I made, all Stone Age tools. That's my little stitch up kit there. And I've got a piece of leather in there that I used to, what was it that Will Gear said to Jeremiah Johnson? Use a leather pad. Tear your fingers up. Yeah, you don't want, well, I tell you though, Justin, yeah, that would make some pretty big puncture holes, but I don't think I'd use the natural cordage. I'd probably use some of that sinew that I've got down there. But that whole system works really good. But that's, to me, what a trigger all looks like. And you can see the wear difference on this as I wear it back and sharpen it. It's not even close to the same wear. That one's pointed and polished and all kinds of stuff. All right, let's see here. Quit yakking, Aaron. We've gone another day and haven't finished it. No, most of the force is being, when I hit this, is being absorbed into the rock. And then this is like 4 layers of leather thick. But yeah, and Justin will tell you, some of it is work hardening. You know, if you do it every day, your body just kind of gets used to it or builds up. You know, it's like calluses, kind of almost. Now, when I first started flint knapping, this leg that I used the copper and stuff on, I bruised my leg pretty good. But that's because, you know, you miss and you hit your leg. Ideally, when you swing down, it should make contact with the rock and not so much your leg. But in a perfect world. All right. See, that was where I told you guys most of the time I just use this, but when I need extra pressure, I'll lean into that and then get that downward force. And again, we're not trying to dry flakes, we're just building convexity. And you see how those are changing that and coming up this way. Then we'll smooth over those deltas and then keep working back and forth. That's why I said this particular point style is very pressure heavy. It's any of your paleo, like the Folsoms, very pressure oriented making those. Clovis is not as much, but for sure with the Daltons and the Folsoms. See again, you think those are sharp? That just bounced up off there and just stuck in my finger. You're very welcome, Headley. Just anytime you got a question, feel free to ask. And you can see that series and how that, see how that turned that convexity on that, and how it's, you got that nice lens shape over there as compared to how flat the other side is. Now, I believe that these could have been or would have been used through the entire process. You know, this right here, that is a usable blade as it is. I can cut, I can scrape, I can work hides, I can do anything like this that I could with a knife. It's just not hafted. You know, I don't have it in a handle. So I think that it could have been used, you know, throughout the process as a, you know, viable tool. That no reason to waste a good sharp edge, you know. I'm just turning these edges. I'm trying to get just a little bit of a rounded, but I don't want it too dull. Yes, that's what this is. It's just a little antler tine. This one actually is a shed. You can still see some of the rodent teeth marks on this one. I've used this one for a while. It was actually quite a bit longer when I started. It was more like this, and you can see the polish on it. That's silica dust on your hands. It will polish these tools up. And then this is just a sandstone that I use for edge turning, a little bit of grinding, sometimes as a percussor. Yeah, it just depends on how dried out it gets, Justin. And some antler, it's weird. It's all got like a different texture. Some of it, and I'm sure it probably had to do with the animal's dietary, you know, intake during the time that they were being made. But some antler, it just draws moisture and it's really soft, and it's just, and then some of it is like this piece right here. The reason I've used it as much as I have is it's almost an ivory type sound. Well, Headley, what's your idea? I know what archaeology says it was for. I don't know in the context that they were saying. Now, the banner stones are a little bit different. You know, there's the bird stones, the boat stones, banner stones, and they're trying to say that all of those were made as a decoration, you know, or some type of part of an atlatl. Well, that's one of those things. I'm not trying to down. Yeah, I would agree with in a way, Headley, but then in a way not, because if you've ever worked with that material, when you get it down to the like those butterfly or those single lobed, the way that those, how thin they are, you're not going to torque on that. If you've never made anything, I've got in this 50 hours. And that's, you know, that's pretty conservatively 50 hours from beginning to end on this. I would not dream of sticking an arrow or a shaft down that hole and torquing on it and taking a chance of cracking or blowing out a material like that. You know, you see a lot of what they call arrow straighteners. You know, I've had people ask me, like, if this was something that was used for, you know, oh, is that an arrow straightener? No, what I think these grooved rocks that you find, is that right there. They're using that to treat that edge, or they're using it as a burnishing tool for this. I straighten all of my arrows and atlatl darts. I straighten them by hand. I've never had a need, you know. Now that's with river cane. That's not with wood, and then that could bring into a different, you know, realm of stuff. Because I've seen the guys with like the stuff like this, calling this a shaft straightener, because they could put, and it may very well work for that. This one, I just had this on a lanyard is the reason it's got the hole in it, but it would work for that on a heavier piece. But I don't know. I mean, none of us know, you know, for sure. And if I don't know, I haven't seen the stone. It may be like you said, it's a different type. You know, I've got different theories. I saw a open drawer. What? Do you want to? Is there stuff in there that you got questions about? We got. Those are billets. Third stone. This one here. Bend it till it broke. Sure I can. What would you like to see? We don't have a whole lot of time left in the... do you want to see pressure flakers? I can show you. You know, this is my version basically, and the only thing or closest thing I've got to an Ishii stick. The second. This one here. No, but as far as straightening, you know, shaft straightening and arrow straightening. Right on, Bennett. But no, as far as shaft straightening, I've always, you know, you get the shaft warm and keep it moving. Most of these are whitetail. I've got a variety, Duck River. I've got, this is bison, buffalo horn tip. That works great as a pressure flaker. I thought about making it into a punch, but I really like turning edges on sharp, real thin stuff. These are whitetail. That's upper part of a buffalo rib bone that I'd turn into a notcher or like an edge shearing tool. This is a punch tip that I made. This is... Oh, right on, Don. That'll make some handles. You can make some knives and stuff. A lot of guys use those for knives. This is a moose tine, like the end of a tine, that I've drilled out and made into another one of my punches. This is a larger one that I had made quite some time ago, and use it for, I had ground it to make for when I was notching fluting my Folsoms. Oh, here's the one I was looking for a while ago, because I tried to make a punch out of this. Justin, this is what I was talking about a while ago, if you're still in here. This would make a good striker because they're weight forward like that as far as for the indirect. And if your elk is bigger than that, you take off that tine right there. Never mind, it laid in the palm of everybody's hand, whole index. Yeah, then that'll make a good striker for that. I'm not sure I'm following you, Headley. Sorry. Never mind, it laid in the palm of everybody's hand. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not following you. Usually I try to be. I may have missed something, or I'm sorry. I get a little sidetracked sometimes. Let's see. Billets. I understand, Headley. It is, and I apologize. Like I said, because no way, you guys. I want to show you what you want to look at. we can. This is a moose, like a spike, or a moose version of like a spike buck or deer. This is just a nice straight section of that. I really like this billet. I don't use as much moose as I used to. These are all whitetail that I'm in process of they're using them. And these are the tools that I use the most, that and then this little favorite one over here that I've got. But those are all whitetail. And then I've got some monsters in here for breaking down material. This is another one of the first ones that I bought. Now I'll tell you how long ago it was that I bought this. And it broke. It was actually a little longer. But any of you that have looked at buying these, moose antler is really expensive. I bought this 20-something years ago for $20. My original set, Woodchuck, I appreciate it. This is my original set of moose billets that I bought 20-something years ago. You can see the facets that are being on both of these, how much I've struck those off those flat platforms, trying to get them where you can see the facets. This one I just used for like heavy reduction. Oh yeah, this one right here. B420 James Gang 420. There's all kinds of resources. Nappingtools.com. There's, I don't buy these anymore. Like I said, I bought these so many years ago. I use mainly whitetail now. Now I have been gifted. Yeah, Don, you want to see this? This about $125 billet right there. That thing is beastie. Yeah, Caleb, that's what I'm saying. And this thing here is, try to get you a. Well, that's how big around that thing. It's basically the same as my coffee. My herbal tea, sorry. But yeah, I've got that. Then this is red stag. This is basically European elk, and it's very similar. You've got the brow tine. You can see how that marrow pith in there. You can headley, but sometimes they boil those or sterilize them, and it's kind of a crapshoot as far as if they're going to be soft or not. And that's the thing is I've gone through a lot of antler to pick out ones that are not soft or that don't seem to be. Well, Caleb, and that's the thing though. That's what I was saying. You don't have to have the moose antlers. There's guys, that's just what they do. Ed Mosier, that's what he uses because that's what he learned with. He's a D.C. Waldorf disciple. I don't want to say disciple. That's not the right word. A lot of his early influence was D.C. Waldorf. And D.C. used the big moose billets like that. You can use whitetail. You can do a shaft punch with a smaller. Light incense here, guys. Sorry, but you can use a smaller billet. You don't have to have those big moose. The big moose billet and all that. A hammerstone, a small whitetail billet, an antler tine. Most of my stuff. Yeah, Bent Creek Axis, and I have some Axis deer. I'll show you guys one because I like it because it doesn't have, it's almost solid all the way down. Let's see. I've got a punch made out of it. There's punch. In fact, I may, let's see, is that one? Yeah, I think my little block. Yeah, this is Axis deer. I think I've got another. I've got one that I had over here in my craft section. Yeah, here's the uncut piece of it. That may have been where that came from. This is a tine from one that's been chewed and rodent. You know, you can see it was a shed, but it's very ivory-like. Here's a punch that I made from it. You can see how solid. That little hole is just really the only spot in the pith in the center. Otherwise, it's almost like ivory. And then apparently when I made this, that's what I made this out of. That's that little block that I use on my flute system. And the tip of those pieces set up against this little ledge right here. And then that's, you know, how they're held in. Looks like I'm going to have to make a new one of those. I'm developing a little bit of a pit there from using it. But yeah, it's a good material also. But guys, don't limit yourself to, I mean, whatever, if it's bone or antler of any kind, give it a try. You know, that's to me is for the fun of it. This is a section of, this is buffalo leg bone that I was messing around with making a punch out of. This was gifted to me. This was at one point probably going to be ivory 45, you know, like Colt 45 handles. This is walrus ivory. Very dense. I use this for my striker on my punch notching. But this is a cross section cut of a elk antler that I made a punch out of. Yep, Caleb, I've seen a lot of guys that use them. I was gifted that. This material here, at first you can see there's a couple little chips where I kind of pecked on some rocks with it and determined real quick I didn't like that because I know what this stuff costs. And that little chunk right there of walrus ivory for gun, you know, for like pistol grips, that's probably a $200 chunk of ivory that I didn't, you know, I didn't have to pay for it, thank goodness. But yeah, I like any kind of natural material. Well, guys, I got a little sideline showing some of the tools. Then I've just got some hammer stones of various grits and sizes and densities down here. That's all more of a matter of personal preference. You know, you'll find what I know guys that like a harder hammerstone. I prefer a little bit more of a sandstone type. So, you know, you just have to spend time. Bennett, you're welcome. Do you have any questions specifically or anything other than any tools that, you know, technique you might want to see? This is I believe this one's moose hide. This is a moose hide hand pad, and then I don't have my other one over here. I've got a buffalo hide that it's really, really soft. I use it for dampening stuff and not so much pressure flaking on, because I wore through it. Yeah, cow bones for I've got right here, and they will. You're going to want to round the edge a little bit until you kind of get until you start getting a bevel built into it, because I was looking for a piece of rock, because that sharp edge see, and this bone is fresh. I haven't done anything, I mean, not fresh, but I've never prepared it to be a flint knapping tool. You know, I would typically bevel the edge and all that, but I mean, you can see it'll work and work well. You know, it needs a little bit of an edge turn just to get that first little spot turn. But you can see it'll remove flakes, and then once once you get your convexity built in, it'll work almost just like a antler billet. The edges are just a little bit different. So, but I had a buffalo leg bone, was substantially bigger than this one, that I used for a while until it broke. They're kind of notorious, like you can see once they're dried out. You really got to get them fairly fresh, but even as they dry out, they'll still crack. And if you really whack down too hard, they'll come apart in your hands. You know, depending on what you're hitting or how you're hitting stuff. But this could be, I think this is one of my buffalo also, but I'm gonna make some stuff out of the bone of that. There's some cuts. That's beef bone, I'm sure. And then I've got a big piece of, this is buffalo rib bone for future projects. So, got all kinds of, there's my pine pitch glue. All at Caveman junk, you know. Well, guys, it looks like we're past the time here. Brizzo, yeah, you knew what was coming up. Thank you very much, guys, for coming in and spending some time today. This is where we're ending up on this. Let me see if I can get it to focus here. I won't work on this. Headley, you too. I appreciate it. I won't work on this until Monday, and then we'll come back in and start back fresh on it. We've got a really good start on a nice Dalton here, so I won't work on it until we're all back in here together. So, guys, take care of yourselves, those around you. It's a crazy world out there. Stay warm today. Looks like it's going to be a little nicer. And hope everything goes well for you. And have a great weekend. And we'll see you on Monday, hopefully. Have a good one. Keep chipping.